So it's been, a little over a week since our performance against a pretty decent UCF Knights team. Were you surprised by the game? I mean, going into it, how did you feel?
Well, as I mentioned in our last conversation, I felt this UCF team was dangerous. I felt it was a dangerous game. It was in Florida. And, us coming off of, still, even though we got a win against San Diego State, I was wondering how motivated our team would be for this game. And I just felt like UCF was a dangerous team, a very athletic team, a quarterback that had the second most yards per game in the entire country, the type of quarterback that usually is very difficult for us to defend. Not only can throw, but is very athletic and can run. So I was a little bit worried about the game going into it, but wow. I mean, that first half was unbelievable. I mean, we dominated, I think, a very good UCF team. And
on both sides of the ball.
On both sides of the ball. I mean, it was just, I think we scored on our first 5 out of 6 possessions. Zach Wilson was, again, just unbelievable and showed why he very well may be the second pick quarterback taken in the draft. He was unbelievable. I mean, his 26 of 34 for 25 yards, 3 touchdown passes. And he did most of that in the first half. I mean, he had, I think, 330 yards at halftime. He had 3 touchdowns through the air and 2 on the ground, and just looked like, quite frankly, the first or second best quarterback in the country.
Yeah, I watch a lot of college football. I would say he's the second best, and I know he doesn't have. The argument with him is always going to be, well, the competition isn't as high, and. Yeah, sure. I understand that. I get that. I do think that Trevor Lawrence is without question the best quarterback out there. I've seen him play for a couple of years, and I would pick him first.
Yeah.
But even with lower competition, when you can pinpoint the pass, throw it to the right place, make the throw from the left hash mark to the out of bounds on the right side to the flat, when you have touch on a long ball, we've had a lot of quarterbacks that could sling the ball with a good arm. I remember watching Jake Heaps. He had a great arm. And as long as he was throwing a dart, like on a slant,
yeah,
it was beautiful. He'd knock it in there every time because he knew how to time a ball that he was throwing his hardest. Right, straight as an arrow. But as soon as he had to loft the ball and throw it over a shoulder or to the opposite shoulder or anything, he just didn't have it. He did not have any touch. And Zach has both. And what surprises me in watching him, again, I think I brought this up before, but he has such a quick release. And you watch him and it almost seems like he's just flicking the ball. He doesn't have, even like John Beck, who's one of his tutors, he has a much longer windup in his throwing arm. And Zach doesn't. I mean, he can throw it from low, sidearm, high, and he seems to be able to just pinpoint it every time.
Well, and what's amazing is that he can improvise and do that when he's not just when he's set up in the pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the greatest throws he had this year were where he had to escape the pocket. He's on the run and he's, even throwing off of 1 foot where he doesn't have time to set up. And he still got that, like you said, that arm strength and just that quick release and still can put it on the money. It's just, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah. We're going to miss it. I'll tell you that. And what we're going to miss is, and of course, I don't think I think we would have been, not counting the bowl game. I think we would have been 7-4. That's my guess. possibly 6-5, but I think we would have been 7-4. But I think we would have picked up a couple
with
of
our original schedule.
With the original schedule. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we would have picked up a couple, and to watch him against some of those teams would have been really fun. And of course, it's fun to watch him against the weaker competition also because he can dominate. But I think he would have had a couple of great games against some very good competition. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see that.
Yeah. The other thing that really that you have to talk about with Zach, and what makes any quarterback a great quarterback, is his ability to go through the progressions, right? To be able to read the defense. And I think that's something that he doesn't get enough credit for. That's another reason why he's had such an incredible year is his ability to read the defense and go through his progressions to be able to read the defense and deliver to the right receiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and you've got to be. That's what makes a great quarterback, right? Is making quick. You've got to be able to do that, and you've got to be able to do it in a matter of a second or two.
Yeah, and I think Sarkisian in his senior year did a great job of that. You had Detmer who did a great job with that. McMahon did a great job with that. And Max Hall did a pretty good job with that.
Well, and John Beck.
John Beck, sure. But I think I don't, and again, competition is lower even from the days in the WAC. But this is the best. This very well could be the best year ever, right? By any BYU quarterback. And what the things he's been able to do. Again, it's hard for me to say that because I've always held Jim McMahon up at the top. And so it's hard for me to say that, but it's been a thing of beauty.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at his statistics for the year. So 3,692 yards. Completion percentage 73.5.
Yeah, and that's a record.
Which breaks the record.
Yeah.
Right. Breaks Steve Young's record.
Was it Young or McMahon?
I think it was Young at 70. I think it was 70 or 71%.
Okay.
But his average was 11 yards.
Yeah.
So he was over that 10 yard mark, 33 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions.
That's a big one.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And 2 of those 3, one where it was off the hands of a receiver and the other one was a Hail Mary before the first half.
Right.
In the game in the game against Coastal Carolina. So yeah, one bad throw for the interception that he had.
No question.
During the whole year. What about our defense? I was shocked about our defense as much as anything. And again, we did give up 400 plus yards, but a lot of that was in the latter half of the game when the game had long been over. We were substituting people in. I was shocked that we had that many 3 and outs and that we held Gabriel, who's a very good quarterback, to really before the fourth quarter, I think he was at about 140 yards, 150 yards maybe.
He was 21 of 45 for the game.
Yeah. With
217 yards. And the majority of those came, like you said, late in the game, along with his 2 touchdown passes. I mean, we were up 49-10, and that's when we gave up the majority of his, his touchdown and yardage, and same on the ground. I mean, this was one of the most prolific offenses in the country. And like I said, the second best quarterback in the country when it comes to yards per game. I mean, he was averaging 372 yards a game.
Why? What do you attribute that to? I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I don't want to say this about someone. He looked horrible. Was he sick? I mean, I'm serious. I mean, he looked horrible. I don't know what we all of a sudden did on defense. Not only that, Brian, but Will Cox didn't play. He's our best corner.
Right.
He did not even play. So it's not like, I'm not going to throw to that side, but I'll throw over here. Our best cover guy was out of the game.
Yeah. No, look, I give all the credit in the world to our defense. I mean, you could say that, Gabriel wasn't on, but you got to credit you got to give it a lot of the credit to the defense. I mean, as much as we got on the coaching staff for the performance against Coastal Carolina, I mean, they dominated again an offense that averages over 500 yards, almost 600 yards a game. And we, like you said, we still gave up 400 and something yards, I think 411, but most of that was in the fourth quarter. I don't know. I mean, our defense came to play. I mean, we were motivated. We were sharp on both sides of the ball, and the defensive guys played their hearts out, and we were doing something to disrupt, their rhythm. Yeah. And I can't pinpoint exactly what it was, because I've seen Gabriel play, and I mean, this guy's good. And like you said, he did not look like the second, yards per game quarterback in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, it was astounding. I mean, I really thought that our defense was really going to struggle against this offense, and we dominated them.
Tyler Algier had a great game. 170 something yards, was it?
173 yards, yeah. 9.1 yards per carry.
That's all right. That's not bad. Excited to see him come back next year. Speaking of which, we lose no eligibility this year for playing. So seniors, if they want, can come back and play.
Very true.
Next year, who do we lose to the NFL, or maybe even someone who doesn't want to play again? Who are we going to lose off this team that's vital?
Well, we already know one, and Brady Christensen announced today that he's going to the NFL. He's the first team All-American that we've had in the program since Luke Staley. I mean, we're talking almost 20 years.
That's horrible. I mean, that's exciting for Christensen, but I mean, whatever. I mean, yeah. Again, coming from a time when you'd have several every year, when I was growing up, it's like, what? Wow. Wilcox also declared before the bowl game.
Right.
So he was ineligible for the bowl game because he had already signed with an agent.
Right.
And a lot of people are going to say, well, Wilcox, I mean, is he going to make the NFL? Yes, he's going to make the NFL. I don't know that he gets drafted, but he very well could get drafted. And people need to realize, he was recruited to Southern University, to Southern Utah.
Okay. Yeah.
By
Ed Lamb.
Ed Lamb, right? So Ed Lamb, I'm pretty sure that Wilcox is from Southern California, and Ed Lamb found him. He was a 2-star recruit.
Right.
And he said, even when he was the head coach at Southern Utah, he said, this guy is an NFL prospect. He's 6'3". He's got all the tools, great speed. And he was hurt a lot at BYU. So we didn't get to say, okay, well, this is like a great shutdown corner. But here's the question with a corner that you need to think about. Yeah, I don't know if he had any interceptions. I don't think he did this year. The question is, how many times did you hear his name? Right? You never hear his name.
Right.
And the reason is because the opposing offensive coordinators know we are not going to throw that many times over to him. He's very, very good.
Right.
So we're barely going to throw over to him. And you don't hear his name because there's hardly any touchdowns or great catches or anything that were made against him the entire year. And so it's, when you don't hear a corner's name hardly ever, he's probably pretty good.
Yeah. So
he'll be gone. And then Tonga, right? Tonga's gone?
Yep. Tonga's gone. Most likely.
What are we going to do with our 3-man front, Brian, without Tonga anchoring?
With Tonga gone, clogging up the middle. Jeez. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Maybe next year, Greg, is the year that we actually put, more rushers on the line, and we don't stay with that 3-man front.
How about Zane Anderson? Is he going to play for a 7th year? He could. He can play for a year 7 if he wants.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he might be heading toward 30 years old.
what about on the offense of the unit that we didn't talk about? What about our receivers? I mean, what a year that Milne has had.
Fabulous.
And Romney too, when he was, of course, he missed a few games, but Milne went over, 1,000 yards.
He was over 1,100, I think.
Over 11. Yeah. 1188, in fact. And here's a guy that was a walk-on that
he's great.
Wasn't even considered a top prospect. And now they're actually saying that he has a chance to make the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, what a year he's had.
Yeah.
And honestly, if Romney wouldn't have been hurt, I think Romney missed 3 games?
Basically, virtually. Yeah. He basically missed 3 games. He started, I think, one of those games and he got hurt pretty early on. So I think he missed 3 games. Before he went out, he was, I think I had counted, in 5 categories, he was in the top 10 in the country, including the number 1 receiver in yards per catch. At the time that he got hurt. So I think he'll come back.
Well, he finished
very, very strong.
He finished with a 19.7 yards average.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And Milne averaged 17 a catch.
That's amazing.
So Romney ended up with 767 yards. I have no doubt that if he had been healthy and had not missed those, 3 games, that he would have gone over 1,000 yards as well. We would have had 2 1,000-yard receivers.
Yeah, I'm going to advocate a little bit more for my boy Gunner too. I'm going to say, Dax is also Zach's roommate. So, there's a little bit of a bond there,
No question.
Well, but
Romney's going to be the man next year, no question. I mean, he's going to be.
Well, I think they both will. I mean, Milne proved himself. I think they'll both be great. And Pau is great. I think we got some speed in Jackson. They'll develop a little bit more. Epps. I mean, the receivers are stacked. We're absolutely stacked with receivers.
And what another great game. And what a freshman year for Isaac Rex. Another 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of which, Bushman's probably going as well.
Yeah, Bushman's gone. He's definitely at his age, and he
can't risk another injury.
He was considering not staying last year, and I think made the right decision to stay. And unfortunately, got hurt. Before the season even started. But I think that he's already showed enough, and at his age, it makes sense for him to declare. He's probably got to go.
Yeah.
He's a legit playmaker. I'm sure love to have him back, but I think we're in good hands with Rex. What a year he's had. I mean, he again, I don't know that he has the same skill as Bushman, but he's a playmaker. I mean, you just can't, it's just, it doesn't matter what sport it is. You can't teach that. Some guys just have a way of getting the ball.
Yeah.
I think Bushman's maybe it's just better. A way a guy, it doesn't matter what sport. It's just some guys just, and he's obviously, I mean, how many touchdowns has he caught this year? It's been unbelievable. I mean,
well, he gets to come back as a freshman next year too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, anyway, I think we're in good hands with our receivers. And
is Christensen the only guy we're losing then from the line? Are we going to get all those guys back? Everybody else on the offensive line?
Well, again, like you said, some of those guys could come back, but it depends on whether they want to.
I mean, MP, Hodge, are those guys going to be back next year in a BYU Cougar uniform?
That's a good question. I mean, I think we'll know in the next couple of days with a lot of our seniors, especially that have the potential to come back if they want. I think some guys will be ready to move on, and some may feel like it's worth it to stay around for another year.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be very interesting, but I guess, what are your thoughts on this football team and this program going forward? I mean, you pushed back on me a little bit last time when I said that we were a very good football team.
Yeah.
With that win over UCF, that makes me even more excited about where the program is, where its potential, what potential we have, and where this offense can go. And I mean, we've got a lot of players that are coming back. Of course, we're going to miss Zach, but we got Baylor, we got Hall, we got Conover. We've got guys that can, I think could fill that gap. They're not going to be as good as Zach, maybe, but we've got a lot of guys that have been in the program now for years. And Grimes was up for,
we are stacked.
Sarkisian won the best assistant, by the way, for the college football as the top assistant, but Grimes was up for that award.
Yeah.
He has done a very good job with this offense.
Agreed. No, we're pushing back when I said we're a good team, not a very good team.
Yeah.
We are a very good offense.
Yes.
Is what I'd say. And even though we've had those games where we dominated and we started off with that Navy game where our defense was obviously incredible on the run defense, and everyone was saying, wow, how good are we? But we were not a very good defense throughout the year. I just don't see that. I mean, we had inferior competition. There were too many times where what you would see, if you had a mid-level Power 5 team, mid to upper level Power 5 team playing those teams, those defenses would not give up what we gave up. And what I mean by that, it wasn't points. We did a pretty good job of that. And I know that's kind of how the defense is designed. But my point is that there were a couple of teams that are not very good at all that put together 13, 14 play drives against us. Right. And that's early on when I was talking with Brett in the first episode we did, that's what always scared me. I'd watch that and they might come away with no points or a field goal. And it's like, okay, well, that, they're trying to manage the points. And I understand that, but it's concerning that we can't make a stop on third down. That's my biggest thing is I'd like to look up the number. I haven't looked it up, but I would say that against very inferior competition, we had very few tackles for loss. Right. And very few sacks.
Yeah.
Against teams that we should have had a ton of those things against them. Right. And we didn't. And we shouldn't be allowing a team to get 7, 8, 10 conversions on third down in a game in some of those teams. And we did.
So is it go back to what we talked about before? Is it more than, is it the players and the talent level, or is it more just the philosophy of, hey, we're only rushing 3. So yeah, we're going to give up. Is the defense doing what they've been told to do basically?
I think that they are. I think what's really bizarre to me is that 2 years in a row now, 2 years in a row, because last year when we went through those 2 games that I talked about last time, Tulane and Southern Florida, where we lost both games back to back and they ran all over us. It was so frustrating. Mm-hmm. And that's where we were rushing 3 almost the entire time on the defensive line. Sataki would come out after each of those games and he would say, okay, we're going to change our defensive philosophy. We can't do this. Mm-hmm. We're going to become much more aggressive. We're going to have guys rushing. We're going to blitz more. And it didn't happen. It might've happened for a game or so. It's kind of like they're like drug addicts. They've got this, they want to change, but they just can't. There's this feeling of safety and comfort, I think, with this system that they've got of rushing 3 or sometimes 4. And there's NFL teams that do it, some that have started to do it quite a bit, actually, to some degree, but you can't do it on third down.
Yeah.
And I know that's the time when you have to say, well, that's when you got to drop your 8 or 7, because it might be, but if you're 3rd and 3, you're 3rd and 3. We had a lot of 3rd and 3s and that they converted against us. No, if you're 3rd and 3 against our defense, if I was the offensive coordinator, I'd be running every time.
Yeah.
Your chances are very high. You're going to get 3 yards
right against
our defense.
Yep.
And so, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, that's a different deal. Maybe you're rushing 3-4, but you've got a 3rd and 3. I don't understand that, but
yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to change, and then at the beginning in the off season this year, they said they're going to a four down lineman. We do rush 4 sometimes and 4 down linemen, but that's a secondary. It's a secondary scheme for us. And so we'll see. That works fine against teams that don't have big offensive lines. When we go up against the big boys next year, they're going to kill us. Rushing the ball against a 3-man front.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Like you said, without
Tonga as the anchor in the center. Yeah. It's like, okay.
So I think we both feel then, looking forward, that the offense is we feel really good about the offense, and we feel like the offense is much further ahead than where the defense is right now.
And I would say that even replacing Zach, obviously we drop a level at that point, no matter who the quarterback is. But even doing that, there's no question to me that the offense is way ahead of the defense right now.
Yeah.
And again, what I mean by that is that typically when we're playing against better competition, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing, against some of these big boys next year. Who's going to start next year at quarterback?
That's a really good question. I mean, I feel good about Hall or Romney.
What about Conover?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we don't really know, right? He's never played a down in college football. I mean, some guys are able to just come in, and we've seen it, right? Guys that come right out of high school and are able to perform at a high level, even at the, in college. Is he that guy? I mean, we haven't really, seen too many quarterbacks that are really that good coming right out of high school. Now he has had some time on a mission, and luckily, because of COVID, he was able to come home and get ingrained into the program and be, I believe, the practice squad quarterback. So he's gotten a lot of experience. So who knows? But I haven't heard enough from inside people to crown him the new great BYU quarterback. I think Romney and Hall are both very good, and they've proven that already in the games that they've started. I think either one of those guys could do it. Now, whether Hall can stay healthy is a big question for him. I mean, he's already suffered a couple of concussions, but I like Hall and Romney.
Yeah. I think all three of them. I've seen probably 10 games in person with Conover, maybe 8 to 10 games in person in high school.
In high school, yeah.
He's definitely got the tools. I mean, this guy that turned Alabama down. And Sol J is actually a really good quarterback too. And
the coaches have said, including Roderick, by the way, who was the one that called the game against UCF, right? Because Grimes wasn't able to be there for the game. Roderick says that he can do things that the other quarterbacks can't.
Yeah, I saw him in his high school. Was like the Aloha, whatever they call the game in Hawaii.
Right.
The all-star game, so to speak, in Hawaii for high school kids. He looked fabulous.
Yeah, he wasn't super highly recruited, but he's an athlete, and
that's 3-star. He's a 3-star guy.
Yeah.
I do think he had a couple of Pac-10 offers, but
who did you think was what was the biggest surprise this year? Who was the one player?
Zach. Zach.
Right.
I mean, he had a sophomore slump last year.
Yeah.
He came out his freshman year, and I was like, wow, this kid, if he's playing like this as a freshman, he's going to be great.
Yeah.
And I know he got hurt last year, but even in the games where maybe he was more hurt than he let on in the games he played in, but
yeah,
he did not look as good as he did as a freshman. To me, he regressed.
Yeah.
And
No,
I was like, wow. I mean, I honestly thought coming into this year, based on his performance last year, that Baylor had a real chance at starting
yeah.
with
Well, I
Hall
think a
out,
lot.
right?
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, and so that he's the biggest surprise to me. I mean, just the way he has looked, he didn't throw like that last year.
Yeah,
He did not look the same.
hard for me to argue with that, but I think Algier.
Yeah.
I mean, to run for over 1,000 yards, this is a guy that was playing linebacker,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy is a stud. I mean, he is strong and he is fast, and he's going to be one of the best running backs we've had in since Jamal. But he's going to be very good. He was a huge surprise, and then the other guy, of course, was Milne. I mean, he's our leading receiver. I mean, who? Again, no one was talking about this guy. He was a walk on, and now he's our top receiver. And again, people talking about him maybe even making the NFL. And of course, you can Rex would be the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, no one before the season started would even thought that he would even been mentioned.
Yeah. I'd add one more that's not quite at that level, but that would be Micah Harper, the kid out of Gilbert, who started in a couple of games and was in, he's a true freshman. I mean, that kid was in high school in May.
Yeah.
And to put someone like that out on an island as a starting cornerback, as a true freshman, we don't do that very often.
Yeah.
So that was, I'd say he was also, as far as the defense goes, I think he's probably one of the biggest surprises there.
No question.
But let's get to basketball.
Let's do it.
All right. So we've had a few games since we talked last. Where are we at? Are we better off? We've had 3 games since then. We've won all 3.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the first game. In my mind, the biggest game of the year so far was the San Diego State game. You're on the road. You're facing an undefeated team, a fabulous team last year. They had beat 2 top 25 Pac-12 teams. You're going on the road. Yes, I understand you don't have the fan base that you normally would when you go there, but this is a very good team. And I said this last. This is
no fans dressed in white shirts and bicycle helmets.
I said this before this game, that this game was really going to tell us a lot about this team. And again, I couldn't be more excited about Pope. I mean, I am so excited about him as our head coach, and I hope that they do whatever it takes to keep him at BYU. But one of the things,
they did something. I mean, they gave him some money.
Yeah, no question. And I think that the big time donors will step up. There's no question he's going to get a lot of. I mean, he's going to get a lot of attention every year. So hopefully we can keep him. But I was so impressed with that San Diego State game. Barcello, people are talking about him now as an All-American candidate. He has been phenomenal. He was phenomenal in that San Diego State game. He had 22 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. I mean, just was lights out in that game. I was shocked by this statistic, though, in that game. We out-rebounded San Diego State 40-25.
Yeah, I saw that too. Like, what?
I mean, that I would
40 I would 26.
Not I would not have, and we held them to 36.8% field goal percentage. I mean, we dominated that first half.
Who is the better defense on the team, on the floor?
On that day, it was BYU.
Yeah. I mean, they're not a great shooting team, but
yeah, We dominated that first half, and then of course you knew San Diego State was going to make a run, and they did. I mean, they made it a very close game, and came back strong. But BYU really, did what they had to at the end of the game there to seal it. And what a great that's a San Diego State. Even Pope said this. He said that's a team that might not lose a game the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, that's yeah. I mean, in the Mountain West, I don't know who's really going to challenge them. I mean, obviously you never know, but I think for Barcello, again, going back to him, to get 22 points when going in, everybody knows that's the guy you got to stop.
Yeah.
Right. Especially up to that point. You did have a good Utah game where others scored a lot of points, but you got to stop him. And he goes 7 for 11, 22 points, 6 for 6 from the free throw line. He's a player. He is.
And he's a great defender.
He's right now, he is better than any of the 3 seniors we lost last year. Honestly.
Better than Toulson, better than Haas, better than.
Do any of them do this? I don't know if any of them would have done that against San Diego State. Honestly, yeah. I don't know that they would have been able to do it. I don't know. Yoli Childs, I don't know. I think banging down low, I don't think Yoli Childs is able to do this.
Yeah.
With those San Diego State trees in there. I don't know. Right now, I don't know that. And as impressive as all 3 of those guys are, and he's not a Yoli Childs. He's not coming in at 6'8", 6'9", where he's got some huge hype on possibly going to the NBA. But I mean, I don't know, for a college level, you tell me.
The guy's shooting 61%.
Yeah, he's shooting 61%, and he's averaging 19 points a game, something like that.
He's dropped down because when we get to the next couple of games, we'll see that he didn't score as much. He didn't need to. So he's at 16.9 right now.
Okay. 17 points a game. Yeah.
But he's also one of the top, he's our top assist guy, and he's also, one of our top rebounders.
Yeah.
And he's a great defender.
We'll see how he does going into conference play here, but I don't know that I'd put him at a level lower than those 3 guys, any of those 3 guys.
Yeah.
Last year. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Harms had a solid game against San Diego State. I mean, 5 of 6 from the field, 10 points, 8 rebounds. Spencer Johnson, 3 for 7 from the field, 8 points. Again, kind of solidifying his place in the rotation. But it was just a gutty win. I mean, there wasn't any other, anyone that really had the kind of game that Barcello did, but no one else scored more than, 10 points, but we played so well as a team.
Yeah.
It was a great win to see. Great win.
Yep. What about our rotation there? I saw that Pope was interviewed at the end of the Weber State game, and he kept talking about that. A couple of guys were asking him from the media, well, are you getting more decided on whittling down your rotation down to like 8 people?
Yeah.
And he pushed back on it. He said, no, if anything, we might be even adding more. But and then he kind of went into how George he really likes what he does, even though he doesn't get a lot of minutes. Spencer Johnson and Nell. And then he started talking about Lowell and adding and saying, we got to get Lowell in there. We got to find a place for him and some minutes for him, because he's going to be able to do things that nobody else can do. And, that's another 4-star recruit that we've got on the team. One thing I saw that I had never thought of before, all 5 of our starters are 4-star recruits, right? So Lee, Harms, Harding, Barcello, and Averett are all 4-star recruits.
Was Colby Lee a 4-star? Are you sure about that?
I'm not sure about that one. I'd have to go back and look at
If you would put Lohner in there, then yes, because
Yeah.
but
No, that's what it was. It was Lohner. It was so Lohner did start a couple of games earlier in the season. That's what I was thinking. It was Lohner.
So right now it seems that that he's pretty set on our starting five, which is Colby Lee, Harms, Harding, Barcello, and Averett.
Yeah.
That seems to be the guy that really is seeing more time in the last few games is Harward.
Yeah.
And
again, that's somebody
I mentioned that in our first podcast, and he's really stepped up. I mean, he was 5 of 7 with 13 points, 5 boards in the Texas Southern game.
Yeah.
And then he was 4 of 7, 11 points against Weber State. And he played 21 and 20 minutes in both of those games. So he's definitely
showed up a little bit. Yeah.
Getting more time and proving to be a really effective.
Yeah. And I don't know that he's going to end up ever being a starter, but he's doing what I thought he was going to do in the last couple of games.
Yeah.
And which is exactly that. 4 of 7, I expect him to get 5 rebounds, 4 or 5 rebounds, block a shot and play some good, he's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he's kind of like Lee in that way, right? He's just a big body.
Yeah.
And he just brings so much energy to the team, I think.
Yep.
And energizes them somewhat. I'm still wondering about Harding now again. I mean, he had that one good game, and then the last couple of games again, he's slipped off. He's 0 for 4, 0 for 4 San Diego State. I don't know what he did against Texas Southern, but Weber State, he was 2 of 7.
Yeah.
He
certainly hasn't. I mean, he hasn't been terrible. I mean, he's shooting 40.3% from the field.
That's not horrible. Yeah.
Not horrible.
What's his 3-point percentage?
You know that he's going to be better than that. He's got to be better than that, though, if he's going to be in the starting lineup. But he's averaging 8 points a game. But, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, Pope is stuck with him. I mean, he's averaging 25 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And
one of his strengths is supposed to be 3-point shooting. He's shooting 33%.
There's no question he hasn't shot the ball like any of us were expecting.
Yeah.
So far this year, he had that one big game, obviously against Utah, but it has not offensively been where we thought he would be.
That is double of what Lohner's at.
Points per game?
No, 3-point percentage.
Oh, 3.
Yeah, Lohner's at 16%.
Yeah, well, he's probably not shot too many, but
yeah.
It was good to see Lohner get in that Weber State game. He was 5 of 6 from the field with 11 points.
Yeah, he's getting there.
And he had 8 rebounds. I mean, he's our top rebounder. I mean, that's one thing that we know that he's brought to the table. We've talked about this, multiple times. He'll get there offensively, I think. But again, what's a really, I think the strength of this team is our depth.
Look at this bench. I mean, this isn't even counting Lowell, who's going to start getting minutes. I mean,
right.
You've got George, Lohner, Harward, Johnson, and Nell.
Yeah.
That's not even talking about Wade, who's been hurt again.
Yeah.
So those 5 guys, and then add Lowell in there, you've got 6 guys that are all very capable of playing.
No question. So that's going to help. Quickly, it was great to see Averett go off against Texas Southern. He had a big game.
Yep.
Offensively, 30 points in that game, and
which was they're a decent team.
Yeah. Yep. And definitely carried over to the next game because against Weber State, he put up 14 shots.
Yeah.
Only made 5 in that game, but he was 1 of 9 from 3-point.
Yeah, his 3-point shot wasn't dropping that game.
Yeah, no question. But and then Harms had another really solid game against Weber, 15 points, 6 of 9 from the field. 16 points against Texas Southern. So he's coming on.
Yeah.
Like I said, before the season started, a lot of people thought he would be our top scorer at around, 15 points a game. And I don't think anyone expected Barcello to be as good as he's been offensively.
Yeah. Although I'll tell you, I mean, people don't realize, Barcello was our top percentage shooter last year.
Yeah, you're right.
3-point. I know he was our top 3-point percentage shooter. And I think he might've been our top field goal percentage shooter also at the time.
And you know what I thought is, okay, you got Childs, you got Haas, you got Toulson that are getting most of the attention. So yeah, he's going to get open shots, and he did. He nailed them last year. What shocked me, and I think has shocked everybody, is that now he's the man, and he's still shooting. He's shooting 60%. Now I don't think he's going to be at 60% by the end of the season, but he's proven that he can be the go-to guy. And it wasn't just that, he was getting open shots, because everyone was keying on those other three players. He's proven that, hey, I'm the guy, and I'm still going to beat you, and I can still score on you.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, Arizona, his freshman year, he shot 31% from the 3-point line, 39% field goal percentage, 29% his sophomore year, 39 field goal. And then at BYU last year, he was 48.6 3-point line and 49.3 from field goal. I think that was the top. I'm not positive, but I think that was the top of the players.
Yeah, from what I understand at Arizona, Sean Miller really, was all over him, and I think he had lost confidence, and knew that he needed to move on, and we're certainly glad that he did. I mean, I think he's gotten. We're seeing why he was as touted as he was out of high school. Right. I mean, for him to get to be able to go to Arizona as a guard, you've got to be a very, very good player.
Yeah. Yep. No.
So I'm excited. And the other thing that I'll mention, Greg, that does excite me about, again, our depth in this team is that after that San Diego State game, these last two games, Barcello has not scored that much. And we still won both of those games. Against Texas Southern, for example, he only scored 10 points, but he had 10 assists. And against Weber State, he only had 12 points.
Well, what about the Utah game?
5 points or 5 assists in that game. So he's still, what I love about him is that he's such a good all-around player. Is, even if he doesn't score 17, 18, 20 points a game, he's going to have a huge effect on the game because, number one, he's going to get other guys the ball. And number two, the guy's a great defender.
Yeah.
And he gets he gets a lot of rebounds for a guard too. I mean, he's a great, what a great guy to play with.
Barcello had 5 points against Utah. That's right. We beat him by 18.
Yeah.
He had 5 points against Utah. So that is a really good sign. And that was something we were talking about before is, we got to have other guys step up, and that has definitely happened at this point. So are we ready for conference play?
I think so. I mean, I feel much better now. Again, some people might say, well, the rotation isn't exactly where it needs to be, but I feel very good about this team, and I feel very good about Coach Pope. I mean, I couldn't be more excited about this guy because I believe that he's not only a great recruiter, but I think he really knows his X's and O's, and he really knows how to make adjustments, and he knows how to get the best out of his players. And so I feel very good. Now, are we going to beat Gonzaga? Who can beat Gonzaga right now?
Did you see them play Virginia last
week?
Oh
my gosh. I mean, this is clearly the best team in the country.
Yes.
Okay. Not an easy.
Dominated Virginia. I mean, absolutely
dominated,
pillared them into the ground.
No doubt. A very good Virginia team. So we're talking about the best team in the country. So are we going to win the conference? No. But we can finish second. And after those first few games, I didn't know if we were good enough to even come.
Yeah, sure.
In second. I mean, I feel much better now that we can compete for that second place finish. And I think that we can give Gonzaga a game. I mean, I think that we can compete. I think we might be able to compete with them. Likely to beat them? No. Like I said, I don't know who can right now. I don't know if anybody can beat them. So I feel much better about this team going into conference. And I think we can finish second. And I think we can be I think this is an NCAA tournament team.
It looks that way. It now looks that way. What I would like to see in conference, here's what I would like to see, is I would like to see us win both games against St. Mary's. That would be nice. Just kind of solidify. We are definitely the second best team in this league. We've had a hard time with that. We walked in early on and it looked like we were, easily going to be the second best team, and we weren't after the first year or two. And so that would be nice to make at least that move forward.
No question. And I think that, I think they are a very well coached team.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have to say that even looking in the past, that they probably had the second best coach in the league.
Yes.
Behind few.
Absolutely.
I mean, that guy is he's a great coach, and they have a system in place that they've had for a long time. And St. Mary's is a very tough team to beat. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter whether it's at home or on the road. They're a very tough team to beat year in and year out.
Yep. All right. Well, we've got Pepperdine and San Diego this week, both away, and that should be 2 W's. But we'll see how we get after it coming into conference play here.
I think the one thing about this year, especially since most of the teams that we play are on the, or not most of them, all of them are on the West Coast, is that you're not going to really see any fans. Mm-hmm. So that's a big advantage for us this year in conference play. Is
true.
You know how tough it is to play even in these small gyms with, that are packed and it's going to make it. This whole COVID thing this year with basketball is going to make a huge difference. I mean, winning on the road in basketball is, I think, the toughest thing to do. And the fact that you're not going to have fans there, or if you are, very little, is a big advantage for visiting teams this year.
Yeah, very true. All right, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.